Bro, hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm
Good
Jamil
morning.
Amusu from the semester. Good morning, everyone.
Hello, good morning.
Jamil Amusu.
Good morning.
How are you? I'm Jamil Amusu from the semester.
Okay, welcome.
Is the meeting start?
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, Philo, please, we'll be going live.
Hi Sam, we are live now on YouTube. You can begin
Okay.
whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you have Dr. Ashi's video.
I don't. Let me check for it.
Okay, please. Or I could send it to your WhatsApp. Do you mind?
Hello?
You've seen it? Hello, Philo.
Yes, Sam.
Have you seen it?
Can you send it to me, please? I do not have the video.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I've done that right now. Okay, so good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Yeah,
sir.
hope you're all having a good time, and I hope our day is going well as well. So our first speaker this morning actually had a tight schedule, so he's want to take the opening remark. So he made a brief video, and once that brief video is done, our next speaker will come on board. So let me just introduce our first speaker before the video. Our first speaker is Dr. Ash Bashiri. He has a PhD in decision. He has a PhD in decision and master's degree in international management. Please, can we all mute? Can we all mute, please? Please, can we all mute? Dr. Ash has a PhD in decision behavior and master's degree in international management, having worked with McKinsey and Company before. pursuing a career in social development area. Dr. Ash's experience in the field of public health emerges from a range of initiatives, including those of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, PAT, the UN, and CDC program interventions in the US. He is also a technical advisor to the World Health Organization on self-care global guidelines. Dr. Pachuri has engaged with the use of technology for health, education, and geoinformatics. A master trainer in behavioral change, communication, and strategic health leadership, Dr. Ash has led over 20,000 workshops, events, and activities globally to reach out. Yes. Doctor. A master trainer in behavioral change, communication, and strategic health leadership. Dr. Ash has led over 20,000 workshops and events and activities globally to outreach to youth and communities to promote health and sustainable development. Widely published winner of prestigious overseas research scholarship, awarded for advanced studies in the UK, and recognized for his academic achievements. Dr. Pachuri pursues interest in research and teaching through ongoing collaboration with universities and institutions. Dr. Pachuri has been recognized by the United Nations for his dedication and leadership in their flagship publication, Portraits of Commitment. In 2021, he was awarded the Global Minded Inclusive Leadership Award for action in the field of energy and sustainability. He is an associate fellow of World Academy of Art and Science. Dr. Pachuri served on the boards and advisory group of several organizations worldwide. So let's all listen to the intro video of Dr. Pachuri. Philo, please, can you play the video?
I'd like to convey my warmest greetings from the pop movement to each one of you, and like to also convey my heartiest congratulations to Sam and to the entire family that collects here today, and for today and tomorrow, and I hope forever. And I know you'll have a chance to deliberate extensively on a range of different important issues, from sustainability to action, to protect our planet, and to rights, and to a whole range of different things that are really of consequence to your life, to my life, and to everybody else's life as well. So I'm going to encourage you to do a few things, please. One is, as you deliberate, think about what action and change we can really bring to our lives as a consequence of this important interaction. So I think it's really important that we start to think about how we can translate this dialogue into action. And I know as you come together, you're driven, you're definitely a group of inspiring young leaders. And I know as you do what you do, you mobilize many more people. So it's really important to think about what we can do as we mobilize these young people from different parts of the world, from Nigeria and from the rest of the continent, in Africa, as well as other parts of the world and you know, the universe that makes up our world. The other thing I'm going to say is, please consider the spirit of goodness, about giving, about sharing, about being in touch with each other with that spirit of deeper consciousness. And I think really, to be honest, peace and sustainability will come out of that. Like Gandhi, our great leader, said, we have, the planet has enough to serve everybody's need, but not the greed that sadly has taken over a lot of the way we've gone about our business, about our work, and so-called development and progress. So I truly believe if we want to make progress and we want to head in the right direction, it is about creating an elevated consciousness where we make mindful decisions about the consequences of everything that we do today for generations to come. We've had experiences where we've done things. I mean, we've lived through the pandemic most recently. We're still living through it, where we've done a lot to protect ourselves by using PPE, for example, which is, you know, personal equipment, protective equipment. But what's happened is that we've generated a lot of plastic in the bargain. And this is contaminated plastic, which sure enough is going to find its way into the oceans, and it has, and it started to have an impact on the marine ecosystem. And of course, we know the implications of plastic are drastic and far-reaching. They affect human health. They are further aggravating floods. You know, and I know that there are a number of experiences all of you will be able to share, which have emerged from plastic pollution. So this is just one example, but what I'm trying to say is I think it's really crucial that we all think about what the implications of our actions are. And as we do what we do to touch the lives of our brothers and our sisters and our larger family, we are mindful. Please share love, share goodness, and spread it, because, and it does, you don't need to do much to spread it. The moment you start to share it, it will spread. And I think that that is the kind of consciousness we need as we think about the leaders of today and tomorrow, the youth of the world, the 1.8 billion young people who have the potential to create the groundswell we need to make this world a better place, to protect our planet, and to have a future which is peaceful and sustainable. And it is going to take coming together, but doing it with the right spirit. Because if we talk about progress, which is going to serve a few people, but ultimately hurt many, 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 create inequities and disparities, we cannot possibly call this progress. I don't know what definition of progress it is, but this is not progress, not the progress that we are setting out to achieve, and not part of the sustainable development goals, which we are all committed to delivering upon. And can we do it? Yes, we can. As hard as people may tell you it's very hard to do and so on and so forth, the truth of the matter is we have the resources, we have the intelligence, we have the emotional know-how. We need to put it in practice. And I know each one of you has the potential. You're well into your way of catalyzing this potential too. And it's now about joining minds, hearts, and souls and putting this into play. And I just want to say that I'm with you in this process. I shall remain with you always. Please feel free to call on me. My, my email address is available. I'm sure Sam can drop it in the chat here for everybody. And the POP movement, where POP stands for Protect Our Planet, is devoted to you and devoted to protecting the planet and all the beautiful species we are so blessed to share the planet with. And I just want you to know that you're a precious member of our universal family, and I do so with my heart. So a warm welcome to the POP movement once again, and congratulations on all the beautiful things that you're doing. And I will be with you every step of the way, now and always. Thank you, and thank you, Sam, for all that you do. My heartiest congratulations once again. I'm honored to be with you. God bless you, and let's pop. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ash. Thank you so much. And we have our next speaker. Our next speaker is Dr. Azizat. Dr. Azizat is Dr. Azizat Yishu is a medical doctor by profession and she's a political leader in Nigeria, recognized for her leadership contributions in the political outlook of Nigeria. She's the first female speaker of Nigerian Youth Parliament in Nigeria, and she's a former member of Lagos State Youth Parliament with over 4 years of active engagement in grassroots mobilization, citizen engagement, and stakeholders engagement. She was the first female and 12th speaker of Lagos State University Medical Student Association Senate. She has worked with organizations including Evolve Africa, Constitution Lab, Yali, and also facilitated youth programs in Nigeria to advance democracy. Dr. Azizat will be taking us on policy, advocacy, and stakeholders engagement. So, Dr. Azizat, I don't know if you're...
Musa Abdullahi.
Dr. Azizat. Please let me check on. Dr. Azizat, are you here?
Sam, I think Dr. Azizat is yet to join. Can we take the next speaker while we wait for Dr. Azizat to come on board?
Yeah, the next speaker will be coming on board soon, but I just spoke with Dr. Azizat and she's almost, I think she's available. So I think probably network issues. Let's just wait for the next 2 minutes or so because she's going to join soon.
All right, all right.
Hello. Hello. Why waiting for her? Can we use that period to get something else?
Please just introduce yourself using the chat box, your name and your location. If you haven't done so, please just introduce yourself, your name and your location using the chat box.
I've done that.
Hello. My name is Comrade.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Musa Abdullahi.
You are highly welcome, Malam Musa Abdullah.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hello, good
Yeah,
morning.
hello, Malam. Yeah, hello, good morning. We can hear you, sir.
Good morning. My name is Musa Abdullahi. I'm from Niger State.
All right. Thank you for coming on board, Malam Musa Abdullah.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, we can hear you,
Hello.
sir.
Okay, my name is James from Imo State.
All right, Mr. James, thank you for joining.
Hello. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so Damlola Lawal from Oyo State.
Wow, that's wonderful, Damilola. Thank you for joining too.
Yes, I'm from Niger State.
My name is
And hello. I studied
hello, sir,
industrial
we can hear you.
technology education in
Wow,
building
that's
technology from
Hello?
Federal Ministry of Technology,
Hello.
Niger State.
Hello.
Happy to be here.
Can we do this one after the other, please?
A quick reminder, please.
Please, let's all stay muted, please. Let's all stay muted. The next speaker is there. Please, let's all mute. Okay, Dr. Azizat, can you hear me? Dr. Azizat, can you hear me? Dr. Azizat, can you hear me? Dr. Azizat. I think our audio is not connected. Let me.
Sam, can we wait a few minutes for Dr. Azizat? I think that your background is a little noisy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, please. Okay, I think she's on board now. She's on board now.
Hello. Hello.
Hi, good evening. Good morning.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Dr. Azizat, good morning. Please, this section we have you now on this, and then sorry for the inconveniences and all that. So you'll be taking us on youth engagement in advocacy and youth involvement in advocacy and stakeholders engagement. So that is what you'll be taking us. I will know that you are expertise in this particular field. So please, is the
Okay, thank you so much, Samuel, and I really appreciate you inviting me to speak with everyone this morning. I hope you can all hear me. Good morning. My name is Dr. Yishao Azizat. I'm a medical doctor by profession, and I'm currently the Speaker of the Nigerian Youth Parliament, and I'm also a youth inclusion advocate. So I advocate for young people to participate in governance and also participate in change in Nigeria as well. So thank you so much. I don't have a presentation, but I would like to speak to us, particularly about how young people can participate in bringing awareness to climate change in Nigeria, as well as ensuring that we have government policy that are necessary for climate action here in Nigeria. So thank you so much once again, Samuel, for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I'll quickly speak with us briefly, and hopefully we can have a question and answer session as well. So I think a few of us might be aware of the National Climate Change Policy for Nigeria, which was created 2021 to work between 2021 to 2030. So the document just encompasses all the things that the government is doing to ensure that we mitigate the effects of climate change. Now, particularly because Nigeria is a developing country, and we are also dependent heavily on agriculture, in conventional agriculture, we realize that climate change has a direct impact on our food sustainability. It also has a direct impact on security as well, and the economic of the nation in general. And as such, it's important for us as young people to ensure that while we might consider all the other things that is happening in Nigeria, climate change is also a very important climate change is also a very important aspect of Nigeria. So I would just briefly want to discuss some of the policies that we already have or actions by in the national climate in the Nigeria climate change policy, which are the actions that the federal government is already taking to ensure that we are able to mitigate the climate change in Nigeria. So we have the institutional framework, which was developed by the Department of Climate Change, Federal Ministry of Environment. It's also the purpose of the framework was to ensure that we are able to develop mechanisms for a clean development, to develop mechanisms to ensure a clean and safe environment across Nigeria. We also have the National Determined Contribution. We also have climate change finances, where efforts are being made to improve or increased finances available to climate change. So I think we understand that the green bond innovation, which is available about $250 million in the climate finance to support national project agencies and private institutions that are doing activities to mitigate the effect of climate change. So this policy, when we go through it, we realize that this policy is basically focused on activities to revamp the agricultural sector, to also revamp and support national projects that can assist with mitigating the effect of climate change, and also assist Nigeria in the recycling aspect of pollution. So Nigeria as a whole, amongst other African countries, has a large amount of plastic waste. And we all know that it takes millions of thousands of years rather for plastics to be recycled. And for those of us that are conversant in the plastic space, we realize that plastic is affecting our oceans, plastic is affecting the soil quality, and so on. And because most of the materials that are used to make plastics are not biodegradable, that means it takes a longer time for these materials to break down. We realize that they are mainly accumulating in our environment as well. So recycling is a big aspect in which, as young people, we should be passionate about in moving out the plastics that we have here in Nigeria. We are conversant with the reuse, recycle, and alternative use to plastic. So I think for the first time last week, I was at a restaurant where I was given a bamboo straw. And it was quite exciting for me because while we see some of these adoptions in countries like Rwanda, Kenya, where there are laws to prevent the incident use of plastics, it was quite difficult to see how we can adopt such policy here in Nigeria. It's quite a challenge because in Nigeria, we run a very informal economy, a very informal system. So it's quite difficult to implement some of the policies, anti-plastic policies that we have other advanced countries using. But I believe that as young people, when we understand how to engage governance, when we are participating in government process, especially in policy process, you understand what I'm saying, then we can ensure that we are able to advocate for policy that will gradually move Nigeria from activities that affect our climate into climate-friendly actions as well. So there are several policies in Nigeria. I think that's one thing that we have in Nigeria. The problem is implementation. I always talk about the green bond, because a huge amount of money which is readily available for young Nigerians to access in order to ensure that we are in our own way mitigating the effect of climate change. Another issue that we have here is in some regions in Nigeria where we take crude oil, where we have crude oil, what's the word again? In the Niger Delta region, where we have pollution of both air and water because of the excavation of crude oil. Permit my use of English. I know excavation is not the right word to use. So that is also a climate issue that we also need to take note of. And I think over the years, the issue of the carbon monoxide that comes from the refineries as a result of refining crude oil, and also the spillage of crude oil into the water body is also causing an environmental risk for both members of the community and the water life that we have surrounding us as well. So it's important as for us as young people, what are we doing? What policy are we advocating for Nigeria to divert into clean energy and alternative source of energy? What are we doing to ensure that we can gradually or exponentially move towards green source of energy? bearing in mind that solar, water, and wind energy are easily accessible to us with the use of technology as well, rather than still um, using non climate friendly means of providing energy source. It's also important for us to also understand the effect of climate on our agriculture and in turn our general economy in Nigeria. So in some areas, particularly, I think some months ago, I wanted to go into some form of agriculture, and I was trying to understand how people in the northern part of Nigeria were able to, farm during the dry season, and because of the climate change and the extreme of weather in some of these places, we find it difficult, even down here in South, because of climate change, communities cannot forecast readily when they should plant or when they should not plant, because the weather is no longer predictable like before. And I remember speaking to members of the community on how I spoke to young people on how they can use technology to assist farmers in their communities who do not have access to technology. So because of the change in weather, because of the climate change, farmers are unable to know when exactly to plant uh, to um, to plant their crops, in order to harvest. But then you realize that young people have access to technology, have access to weather forecasting technology. And I spoke to a few young people in that area, of Sokoto, Kebbi, and then Kano, as to how they can form a community, form a group within their community where they can regularly use technology to update or give information to farmers in their community, and to also use technology, which, because it might be very difficult to bring this group of farmers who are not necessarily learned to come up to using technology to determine when to plant, to know the soil structure, to know the chemical compounds in their soil. But as young people who are passionate about climate change and climate action, the use of technology can also assist to mitigate the effect of, of climate change on agriculture, bearing in mind that we are still dependent on using mechanized method of agriculture here in Nigeria. So I spoke to them about having a group that will regularly give updates, use technology to give updates and advise farmers in the community to when to plant and when they should expect to plant. They could also use the information that they have to encourage farmers to get access to more biologically developed seeds that can adapt to changing environment and all that. So in all, I think that for young people, I remember back in 2015 when I was a member of a climate advocate platform, when we visited the ambassador to the ambassador from the US to Nigeria. And I remember she was speaking to us that despite the fact that there's a lot of issues in Nigeria to talk about, some of those issues are beyond our capability as young people. She mentioned that climate change, climate action are some of the things that, or some of the areas that we can contribute our quota to that those are one of the ways that are easily accessible to young people, rather, to contribute their quota to preventing the effect of climate change here in Nigeria as well. So I took that very seriously, and I think just before COVID, I was working on a project, although eventually I didn't finish it up because I got discouraged along the line. And I think those are one of the things that I need to speak to young people about. Please do not be discouraged about your idea. The issue of soup in Port Harcourt inspired me to work on reusable face masks that can help to filter some amount of dust. You understand? While we're still advocating for government and different stakeholders to stop the soot and find alternative means to energy. And I remember sharing the idea with a supposed business expert or if, someone that's good with startups, and the person told me that, oh, nobody in Nigeria would want to go about wearing a face mask. That was what the person told me. He said, oh, in Nigeria, people going about wearing face masks, and seriously, I gave up on that. Boom. In 2019, this was early, I think someone knows about this, was early 2019, and boom, late 2019, early 2020, we have everybody wearing face masks because of COVID as well. So as young people, we need to be very much aware of our potential, and we have to ensure that we have a good relationship with government. One thing I've realized is that most of our leaders here in Nigeria do not understand much about climate change. They do not see climate change as an immediate issue. They find it difficult to associate or see the relationship between climate change and our economy, climate change and security, climate change and education, climate change and health, because to them it is not something that is directly relatable. In 2016, I was invited for a program, and I had to discuss how climate change is sustaining insecurity in the north. And then, while I was doing my research, it surprised me to notice that, we had communities around Lake Chad, between the borders up north and Niger and the Chad and the rest. And then we realized that as a result of climate change, the lake itself has reduced about almost 40%, due to climate change. And because it serves as a water body for communities around that area as well, because of climate change, people could not farm again, people could not readily get access to water. So this group of, terrorists, you understand what I'm saying? Now, what's the word? Took over the water body or the water resources. And so they were recruiting members of the community into their force in order for them to get, access to, to the water body that is readily available. Or they were recruiting members of the community, and in return, they gave them food or they gave them clothing. You understand? So when they realized that water body was scarce or water body was limited, they took advantage of that to put more members into their force as well. So climate change has is a cloud on our head, and for African countries, developing countries like Nigeria, whereby we are not yet technologically advanced, most of our activities are directly dependent on the weather conditions surrounding us. So it is very important that we adopt policies. We also monitor policies to which government has placed on ground. We sanction communities, groups, organizations that are, by virtue of their activities, are polluting the environment. So we have policies abroad where companies and organizations pay a certain amount of money, for doing some other things. For their, I think their carbon print, yes, that's what. So they pay for their carbon print, and money gotten from such fine are what used in rehabilitating the community through tree planting and other recycling and upcycling projects as well. So I think I will stop here briefly, and then I'll take any questions from us if we have any. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Azizat. Thank you for that wonderful section. We have Dumo Diasin. Dumo Diasin, please, you may unmute and ask a question.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning once more to everybody, wherever you are. Good morning, good evening, as the case may be. Good morning. I'm Dumo Sokai Diasin. Can you hear me?
Yes, please go on.
Okay, I'm Dumo Sokai Diasin from Semis Environmental Academy in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. Please, sorry, I really have a penchant and a passion for climate change. and I would like to be a frontline advocate of climate change. I don't really know if there is any channel or avenue that can stand as a platform and then for me to advocate for climate change.
Thank you so much, Justin. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I would appreciate if you send me your contact directly. I think
Okay.
Samuel answered the question because there are several platforms that are advocating for climate change. My advice, whereas, is for you to pick an aspect of climate change that is peculiar to the problem that you might be facing in your locality. You understand what I'm saying? And I think that when you start advocating and then providing immediate solutions to some of those challenges, you can tap into the necessary platform that is available both from government and non-government, both from international communities. You can engage members of your community. So if plastic pollution is one of the major problems in your community, then you need to start educating stakeholders, major contributors to those pollution. You need to start engaging members of the community on recycling and engagement, economic empowerment, using recycling and all that. And then you also need to participate in government process. So town hall meetings, your chairman local government meetings, do you visit the National Assembly? Do you submit some policies? Gather your colleagues together, review both international and local policies that are readily available addressing climate change, and then tap into those resources as well.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Azizat. And yes, there are, like Dr. Azizat have said, there is a whole lot of platforms. And just as you said, you can also reply via the email that was sent to you, reply that.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so we have the next person is Paninga. Paninga, please go on with your question.
All right, thank you very much, Samuel. Dr. Azizat just delivered an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for that. You spoke of a research you conducted on how climate change is affecting or sponsoring insecurity in the North. You mentioned Lake Chad, and I don't know if you published that particular work. If you did, I would like to study it, so I don't know how to lay my hands on it. Then I also like to know if I can get access to related documents so I can expand on my knowledge on that particular topic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I did not, what's the word? I did not create a research. I will share with you the links and resources I used while I was investigating how climate change was contributing to insecurity in Nigeria. I came across those resources, and that's far back as 2016. So you can, I would share my email, share your email rather, so that I could get those links and share with you as well. So I didn't do the research, because when I was trying to make my presentation that I found that those facts, and
Okay.
I was able to bring them together. So I could share with you the links, and I think that.
Okay. Instead, Doctor, if you don't mind, you may send it to my mail while I share it with most of the participants as well who are here.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have I will take two more people, and then that will be the end of. Please, every other person may just type in your question at the chat box. Oluwafemi.
Okay. Thank you, Samuel. Thank you, Dr. Azizat. Good morning, everybody. So I dropped Dr. Azizat a mail, a private message. I don't know if she would be able to access it right now. Then is there room for partnership with this organization that organized this meeting, this webinar, because currently I've been into climate change and then I have a series of projects on that, like smart water supply and management solution in a way to reduce the use of plastic in our environment, so we can basically transition to circular economy, like the use of reusable bottles. That's by the way. And then somewhere in Nigeria, I'm already working on a project on smart climate agriculture through the use of nature-based solution. And we've developed a tech solution for the deployments across most of these states in Nigeria. So currently we've been able to onboard 28,000 farmers and to run them through how to practice sustainable agriculture. So is there room for partnership? That's basically my question. Though I would say we have, should I say we have enough team on board, but then we are just open to partnership because sooner or later we have the intention of resulting into a research model where we want to open a platform for individuals. We are bringing on blockchain technology, IoT, and some other stuff. So yeah, I'm just saying this probably we can work together to leverage on each other's network. That's my question.
Okay. Oluwaseyi, thank you. Oluwafemi, thank you so much for your question. And then I just left an email on the chat. So you may send me all the necessary things you want us. Yes, there is always room for partnership. We are open to partnership. We don't work in isolation. So we are open to partnership if there's a question. And then the last question, okay. Dr. Azizat, there's a question I actually wanted to ask you after they've asked their question.
Yes.
And then that is how can youth engage directly with policymakers and stakeholders in advocating for climate solution or climate action? How can they get involved? Because we know policy advocacy is one of the areas you are really good at, and you can just give us tips on how we can go about it in making our climate advocacy more effective. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I've always told people my method of engaging communities.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go on.
All right.
Yes, I can.
Yes. So the way I always advise young people or people who are advocating for something is to start from the grassroots engagement. And the way the government is structured, you have government close to you, and you need to have a relationship with them. And so one of the tips I would advise is that, from the advocacy point of view, yes, we have data, we have information, we have reporting, we have the figures, and sometimes we even have information to direct effect of, of that issue that we are creating awareness. The problem that we have is how do we engage government or get some commitment from government to ensure that they adopt such policy. So one of those things that I advise young people is start from your local environment. Start from your when you look at the constitutions, when you look at any policy, you realize that there's local government adaptation, there's a community adaptation of such policy. So you need to be aware of such policy. Knowledge is very important for you, and then you need to participate. So there are various avenues that are available for young people to state your opinion or contribute to what is happening in the environment. One of those things is town hall meeting. I'm saying this because most people attribute some of these things to politics alone. Or during election, that's the only time. You understand what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I'm someone that's very, very politically inclined, and it's one way to ensure that we engage with you. So as young people, if your own concern is that you are passionate about climate change, you understand, people are passionate about gender equality, poverty, economy, and the rest. If there's a policy or there's a movement or there's something that you want the government to be aware of, you understand. A lot of us go to the farther away place rather than starting from the ones that is closest to us. So engagement with your local stakeholders is very important. So local stakeholders, including your local government, your councillors, because in terms of policy, councillors in your local government make laws affecting your local government. So a situation whereby as a community you are able to engage, maybe in a senatorial district, you're able to engage 2, 3 communities or local government to adopt a green action, or to place, okay, within our community, this is what we want to do. We've participated in the town hall meeting, we've spoken with the councillors, we've also spoken with the chairman and executive board, adopted that in our communities. We'll be using plastic, recycled bottles, or eco-friendly bottles, or we realize that this is the challenge we are having. You understand? So whatever solutions you are providing as well has to be something that the government can readily see. So take for example, in Lagos, one of the problems that we have in Lagos is flood, and we have clogged, clogged waterways or gutter, like as we call it down here. So when we are trying to engage communities, one thing that I advise my fellow colleagues that we first of all go to communities who are seeing the direct effect of plastics, of indiscriminate disposal of plastic in their community. And then we engage the councillors, we engage the traditional or local leaders, we engage some other important structures within the community. So you can have market women, you can have 1 or 2 associations, of course, young people are also involved, for them to take a local action. You understand what I'm saying? Nigeria has a lot of policy on plastic, on climate change. There are several. The challenge is that, is it adopted down to local structure? Do we have adoptions of those policies in our local structure? So as young people, when I think of how can you engage government, please, within where you live, my advice where you live, one is to participate in government process. So town hall meetings, ward meetings, town hall hearings, or whatsoever. You participate, you submit, you engage the local government as well. You submit your policies, you engage identifiable stakeholders. So when you're talking about plastics, you have some people that might not necessarily contribute to plastic waste in your community. You understand what I'm saying? So maybe you have to identify within your community who are those stakeholders that are contributing to, who are those group of people that are directly contributing to plastics, who are those group of people that are getting the direct effect of plastic. You would now also relate how this problem is affecting your government directly. Government want to hear something that says that, oh, sir, because of this, so that is why you're not getting more money, or you're not getting more revenue. That's what government likes to hear. Or if you do this, then you spend less. You understand? So take for example, you're able to tell Lagos State government that if we are maybe in a community like Mushin or some other areas, or Lagos Island or VI, that if we reduce our use of plastic, then you spend less in trying to evacuate debt from gutters. You will spend less in trying to do this or do that, which is something that they have to do as a result of plastic waste being being disposed indiscriminately. Or if we're able to do this, then we spend less money on lawman, or trying to get people to clean up the streets, and so on and so forth. So as young people, when you are engaging policymakers or legislators, please have in mind that the issue of climate change is like the way people see COVID in Nigeria. You understand? Our leaders cannot for now really relate to that topic. So as young people, if you are advocating for it, you need to be able to bring it down to a level where they can relate. That's one. Two, you have to ensure that when you continuously engage them, not only them, but other stakeholders within the community. You understand? That way you can ensure that, okay, whatever you are doing, you are bringing all the parties involved, rather than just saying, oh, we are advocating. Can't you people see? Can't you people see? The thing is, they can't see. That is the truth. They cannot see. They cannot see. we have some of our representatives at the United Nations for climate change, COPP 25, and they don't even know what they contribute. They don't know what they should contribute to the global issue and how they should implement those policies that they've been able to sit down to represent Nigeria on. You understand? But we young people, have access and have time because this is something that we are passionate about. They are not necessarily passionate about it. So because you are passionate about it, you need to communicate in a way that is acceptable within your different communities have their peculiarity. The way you engage your leaders in Sokoto might be totally different from the way that you engage your leaders down here in Port Harcourt or in Calabar or in Imo. You understand? But the standard rule is that my advice, things that I know that have worked for me, engage locally. Engage locally. When you collaborate, fine, you can go outside, but engage locally in your local government. Have you identified what the climate change is? And I think we are doing a lot. Okay, I'll round up. We are doing a lot by trying to show how there can be economic benefits from involving in climate change as well. So those are those things that I would suggest that we steps that we adopt in order to engage their government. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Azizat. We are really honored to have you today in our midst. Thank you for the time, and moving over to our next facilitator for today. Our next facilitator is Tony Ronaldo. Tony Ronaldo served as an agriculturist and missionary with serving in mission in Niger Republic from 1981 to 1999. There, he oversaw large-term rural development and periodic large-scale relief programs. Through this, he contributed to a transformation in how Nigerians farm and reforesting of over 6 million hectares of land, which still inspires regreening movement globally. For his 18 years service to humanity and environment, the government of Niger Republic awarded him its highest honor for an expatriate, the Order of Agriculture with Merit, that is a Mérite Agricole du Niger. Since joining the World Vision Australia in 1999, Tony initiated and oversaw important land regeneration projects worldwide. Serving now as Principal Climate Action Advisor, he promotes forestry and oil group forestry initiatives globally within the World Vision Partnerships and beyond. He is widely recognized for his influential contribution to highlighting international awareness on impacts and efficacy and uptake of simple, low-cost, scalable method of reforestation known as FMNRO, that is Farmer Management Natural Regeneration. Among major awards, Tony and FMRO have recently received the 2018 Right Livelihood Award for demonstrating on a large scale how dry land can be regreened at minimal cost, improving the livelihood of millions of people, and the World Fisher Council Agroecology Award. In 2019, Tony was appointed as a member of AM of the Order of Australia General Division. So everybody here joining us is Tony Ronaldo. I know him, or he's well known as the forest maker. He's a global figure, and we are really honored to have him in our midst today. Hello, Sir Tony, you are welcome.
Thank you, Samuel, and hello, everybody. Samuel, could you please enable my screen for sharing?
Okay. Philo, please, can you enable his screen for sharing?
Yes.
Okay, you can share now.
Thank you. I'll just try and get this up and I'll be right with you. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes, we can see that now.
Thank you, Samuel. And if people could mute their mics, please, it would help me very much. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me to speak with you tonight, or today for you, in this Youth Engagement in Climate Leadership Forum. And perhaps it's appropriate to share a Hausa proverb, Yara Manyan Gobene. The children of today are the decision makers of tomorrow. And if I could take the liberty to extend the definition of Yara to include youth, then I'm speaking to the decision makers of today, tomorrow, and in fact very soon, because you're on the cusp of entering your careers, many of you, in forestry, in agriculture, in governance, in science, in business, and education, and so on. So it's a great honor, and I just want to encourage you. As I speak around the world, many young people are quite pessimistic about climate change and the future. And my advice would be to know why you have been put on this earth, know your passion, and pursue it with all your heart, because every individual can make a difference. My wife and I moved to Niger Republic in 1980, and the landscape that confronted us, even though this had been a biodiverse dryland forest in the time of my youth, in just a short few decades, it could barely support life. It was on the cusp of ecological collapse. And as a young agricultural graduate, I think I was quite scared. What did I know? What difference could we make in this environment? The consequences of that deforestation were devastating for the people, the livestock, and the wildlife. So droughts became more frequent, more severe. There were great instances of insect pest attack. Hunger was more common, and displacement. And so people really struggled just to make a living in Niger in that period. And I thought, well, if deforestation was one of the root causes of all these problems, the solution should be relatively easy. All we need to do is plant trees and restore the environment. However, that was much easier said than done. And we planted exotic species and indigenous species. We planted on time with the rainy season. We planted before the rain started with irrigation. We tried wire fencing. We tried paid guards. Nothing worked in a sustainable, economically viable, or satisfying way. And as a young man, I think with youth and being passionate, we're very easily discouraged. And I could have quite easily given up and gone home. It was too hard. It was a big waste of time and money. But I felt, no, there must be a solution. I felt that I was here for a purpose. And one day I was delivering a load of tree seedlings to the villagers, and I was reducing the air pressure because the soil is very sandy. And if you don't lower the air pressure, you'll get bogged in that sand. And as I looked out over that almost barren landscape, north, south, east, west, I thought, this is hopeless. How many $1 million would it take to restore such a vast landscape? How many hundreds of staff would you need? How many decades? And I was doing the calculations and realized using these methods in this environment, it was impossible. I was wasting my time. And I threw up a prayer, just simply asking God, forgive us for destroying the gift of your creation, but you still love us. People are suffering. They're hungry. They're poor. Help us. Show us what to do. Open our eyes. And, you know, I had been on this track almost every week for 2.5 years, eyes open, but totally blind to what had been there all along. And on this occasion, this useless looking bush, this desert bush, caught my attention. And I took the trouble to walk over and take a closer look. And for those of you who are House of Speakers, you would recognize this as Caligo, Philostigma reticulata. Immediately, when I saw the shape of that leaf and realized this is not a bush, this is a tree, in that instant, everything changed. I wasn't fighting the Sahara Desert. It wasn't a question of having a multi-million-dollar budget. I didn't need a super tree, a super species that could withstand goats and drought and people cutting the trees. If it was people's false beliefs about trees and nature and negative attitudes and destructive practices, if it was those things in combination that brought the environment to its knees, to the point of collapse, then that's where the battle lay, not in technology, not in finance, not in skill, but in what happens up here. And people are often shocked that they call me the forest maker, but if I tell them actually 95% of what I do is involved in re-greening mindscapes. And if I win this battle, the rest is easy, because in most landscapes, and I've visited many, many countries, in most landscapes, nature has the ability to heal itself, to regenerate, if we give it the opportunity. I call it the underground forest because if we had special vision and we could see beneath the soil, we would realize very quickly that when you chop a tree down, for most species, it's not the end of that tree's existence. 30 to 50% of the biomass of the tree is still alive. And I compare it to having a V8 engine. The engine is switched on, but it's in neutral gear. It's idling. It has access to water, to nutrients, to stored sugar, but because of cutting and fire and roaming livestock, it never has the opportunity to be put back into gear and to regrow into a tree. And when we remove those constraints, this is where the farmer managed part of the name comes in. It's about management. If we remove those constraints, trees growing particularly from tree stumps can regenerate very quickly at very low cost. And because these tree stumps and seeds in the ground are widespread across much of Africa and other parts of the world, we can do this restoration at scale. So here's a working definition of FMNR, Farmer Managed Natural Regeneration: the systematic regeneration and management of trees and shrubs, growing sometimes from tree stumps, sometimes even from bits of root that have the ability to re-sprout, and sometimes from seeds in the ground. So that's a working definition. There's nothing new about this. In fact, it's a historical practice in many parts of West Africa and other parts of the world. And if anything, all I've done is to revive a traditional practice that we've gotten out of the habit of implementing. And I would say to our detriment. We need to listen to our elders. Years later, I met Mr. Marimo in Tanzania, and he gave me another angle on this. He said, this tree, and you can see there the stump, this tree was my enemy, and I tried so hard to destroy it. Then I learned about FMNR, and now I'm ashamed that I tried to kill it, and this tree is my friend. And so really, when I think about his statement, I'm in the business of turning enemies of trees, enemies of nature, into friends. And if I can convince land users, whether they're farmers or pastoralists or foresters, if I can convince them to work with nature and allow some of these trees to regrow, nature will look after them and provide for them. And so landscapes like this in the top photo, even though it looks like there's no trees there, if you look very closely, there's some telltale signs where there might be a tree stump. The wind and the silt has been trapped here by these stumps. And if we give the stems an opportunity to regrow, in the first year, the trees start to emerge. In the second year, they're getting a bit taller. And by year 3, we have an emerging forest, or in this case, this is agricultural land. This is an agroforest. And in Niger, over the following 20 years, average tree density increased from less than 4 trees per hectare to over 40 across 5 million hectares. That's 200 million trees without planting a single tree. And if you do the calculation, the farmers of Niger restored land at a rate of 250,000 hectares per year, every year for 20 years, without subsidies, without enforcement, even for the most part in the absence of any project. Much of this happened without my knowledge. And so why did they do it? They realized that they would have a better life, more productive land, more diversified income streams by allowing some of these trees to regrow even on their valuable farmland. And Chris Ray, formerly from Vrije University in Holland, said this is probably the largest positive environmental transformation in the Sahel and perhaps in all of Africa. And more recent studies have found there are at least 8 West African countries with a total of around 15 million hectares of newly regenerated trees on that land. So it really is a significant movement. I've had the privilege to revisit Niger a number of times. And what I found is that what had been a vicious downward spiral of degradation, poverty, and hunger has become a positive, virtuous upward cycle of restoration, diversity, and relative abundance. And whereas in the 1980s, when I lived in Niger, most farmers only grew millet. It's now possible because of the improved soil fertility and the better microclimate to diversify and to keep honeybees, to grow different types of crops. And of course, the trees themselves are providing different products: fuel wood, building timber, wild foods, traditional medicines, and so on and so forth. The cost of FMNR, because it's farmer managed, is pretty much minimal. If you took into account a farmer's wages, it might be in the order of $14 to perhaps $16 per hectare. When I think of the investment by projects over the years and divide that by the number of hectares where FMNR has spread, you're looking at an expenditure of around $2 per hectare. And as FMNR continues to spread virally from farmer to farmer, that figure continues to decrease year on year. A study was done in 3 West African countries using tree planting. Most of the trees died, but they estimated of the total, perhaps 20,000 hectares survived. And when they did the costing, it came out to $8,000 per hectare. And the sad truth is that barely a single additional tree was planted once the last dollar was spent. So FMNR is highly economical. some surprising findings happened. And you can see here this photo on the top left was taken in a severe drought year in Niger. Many of the millet plants have actually died, and it's counterintuitive. Not only are the millet plants close to the tree surviving, they're actually thriving. And you can see the soil is richer, there's more organic matter, perhaps the temperatures are lower, perhaps there are more natural predators eating insect pests. What we didn't understand at the time was these trees, and again, it's Caligo, Philostigma reticulata, these trees are bio-irrigating the crop. They're drawing up water from deep in the soil profile, and at nighttime, some of that moisture leaks into the shallow surface layer, effectively irrigating the food crop. So this is very, very significant. And you don't have to convince farmers to do this. They just need to see the difference on the land where trees have been left compared to land where there's no trees, and talk to each other and learn from each other. And this is how it's spread virally. Again, how it affects the moisture cycle. As the trees deposit leaves on the soil surface, and that organic matter breaks down and incorporates into the soil, you increase the soil water holding capacity. And just a 1% increase in soil organic matter across 1 hectare is equivalent to storing 144,000 litres of water in that hectare. And much of this is available to the plants. So effectively, you're creating a dam or a reservoir on your productive farmland when you work with trees. And you can see the difference in the soil. These two samples were taken just a metre apart, the one on the left from beneath the tree, very high in organic matter, and the one on the right from outside of the tree line. Trees have a tremendous impact on temperature. This photo taken in Mali in the middle of the day, air temperatures outside of the tree were 10 degrees hotter than under the shade. Bare soil surface temperatures outside of the tree were 35 degrees Celsius hotter. That difference can mean that the difference between survival or loss of your crop, loss of your food supply for that year. And this is very significant when you consider climate change. Already, crops in West Africa are often growing at their optimum temperature range. As you go above 35 degrees Celsius, for every 1 degree increase in temperature, you can expect roughly a 10% decrease in crop yield. And projections are for temperature rises of 5 degrees, 6 degrees or more. Nobody can afford those kinds of reductions in yield. However, a light scattering of trees, maybe 30, maybe 40 trees per hectare, can reduce temperatures, and it's been measured in some instances, increase crop yield from 50 to 70%. And in some countries, because of that increased water infiltration, reduced evaporation, reduced runoff, the water table is being recharged. Springs are returning. Wells, the water level in the wells are rising. And so it's having a very beneficial effect on the water cycle. Bringing back trees into the landscape probably benefits women and children more than any other group. And I salute the women of Africa and other regions of the world. They work so hard and put us men to shame. This is one way that we can help our women folk, work with them to restore the tree cover. Women who were walking for 3 to 4 hours every second day to collect fuel wood. and encountering dangers on the way, ruining their health, getting tired, so they're less able to do other more productive things, can now access wood within easy reach of their village. Children who couldn't go to school because they were needed to help their families on the farm and collecting wood can now go to school because some of those chores, the burden of some of those chores has been reduced. This photo is from Kenya. And in some of the slightly more humid landscapes, when the forest has been destroyed and there's been fire and overgrazing, sometimes the reaction of the tree cover is to form dense bush thickets, thorny thickets of acacia trees and other trees that are impenetrable, useless for agriculture and wildlife. And the farmers in this region use the same principles. Select the tree that I want to leave, thinning, pruning, protection, and they reduce that dense bush encroachment. The light was able to reach the ground, the grasses grew, the trees themselves are providing fodder, the leaves, the seed pods are valuable sources of fodder for livestock. And farmers there, with the same number of cows, increased their milk production from 200% to over 500%. Same cows, same land, different management strategy. In some regions, we've seen a marked decrease in conflict. In many, many situations where land is degraded, there's fierce competition for scarce resources, fodder, fuel wood, food, water. Where we've introduced FMNR, there's an increase, a greater abundance of resources, more fodder, more food, more fuel wood. And in cases where we've been able to bring different groups, different ethnic groups together to work towards a common purpose of restoring the land, they quickly realize actually everybody is better off when we collaborate and partner in restoration than when we're fighting and competing for the same scarce resources. I mentioned already, children are more able to go to school, crop yields increase, availability of fuel wood and water increases, so parents are in a better position to send their children to school. These photos are from Ethiopia, and this is quite a remarkable community. They also suffered from the severe drought and famine in 1984, and the organization that I work with, World Vision, moved into this area and in that year provided food aid relief. And we stayed. There was a transition period and then a development period where you help build schools and water points and improve agriculture and so on. Despite our best efforts, to one degree or another, for the next 20 years, this community continued to need food assistance. The issue was that World Vision had not fully addressed the underlying environmental problem of widespread land clearing. So in 2006, we initiated the community managed natural regeneration project on this 2,700 hectare forest. So in some of the previous photos, you saw FMNR on farmland, on grazing land. This is using the same principles to restore forest land. And within 6 years, this historically food aid dependent community sold 106 tons of grain to the World Food Programme. And I was very surprised because the trees are not on agricultural land. I said, how does this work? And they said, Mr. Tony, even though it was a drought year, what few clouds come, when they hit our forested mountain, they're more likely to drop their rain here than on our neighbors. And even though this year there's less rain than what we're used to, that rain is more effective. There's lower temperatures, lower wind speed, so less evaporation, and more organic matter in the soil holding on to that moisture. And so effectively they had drought-proofed their farmland. And with the restoration of the forest, biodiversity began to increase, and that community now has the possibility of a whole new income stream, ecotourism, something undreamt of before when all they had was a dust bowl. At the same time, in this particular project, it's a carbon project. So the community are able to sell carbon credits. And in, I think it's a 10-year period, 2006, can't quite read that, to 2016, they sequestered 110,000 tons of CO2. So not only did it impact livelihoods and reduce the risk of disasters through flooding or through drought and diversify their incomes and assist biodiversity, it's fighting climate change. So there's very few downsides to restoring landscapes. And I often have great difficulty. Many people weigh it up and they think it's either or. Either I'm kind to the environment and ruin my income and the economy, or I'm mean to the environment and I have a good economy. Nothing could be further from the truth. And the more we work with nature and restore the environment, the greater opportunity for wealth creation there is. And so here's this historically food aid dependent community in a drought year, and this is their stock of grain. And they've diversified, they can make an income from beekeeping, from fodder, from animal fattening, from fuel wood, and so on. I've had the privilege of revisiting Niger a number of times, and even in the absence of a project, farmers continue to practice FMNR. It just makes economic sense. And so there's no subsidy, no goading, no enticement. People do it because it makes sense. It's a sustainable practice. Just a little bit before I finish up on youth. This is so important, and one of the reasons why I'm so happy to speak to you in this forum. Children are not blank slates with no thoughts of their own. They're very aware of what's going on, and it's almost heartbreaking when you read what this child from Senegal said. If our parents kept destroying the environment I can't quite read it, at the rate that they were, when we grow up, we would not be able to have children of our own because we would not be able to feed them. That's so sad. Children shouldn't be worried about their future. They should be enjoying themselves and learning and enjoying their families. And so children, I think, the Manyan Gobe, the decision makers of tomorrow, this is our key opportunity to tackle climate change. This is their future. They will be in the driving seat to fight these problems. And so in my work, I put a lot of effort through World Vision and through any organization that I can partner with. I put a lot of effort into teaching young people, not only about trees, but also regenerative agriculture and other nature-friendly practices. As much as I'm very happy as I revisit the countries that I've worked in, I'm very happy to see the regreening and the return of the trees. Actually, one of the biggest changes that I see is the restoration of hope. And when you think about this, what's it like to be a parent? You can't feed or clothe or educate your children. It destroys you. It breaks your heart. It breaks your hope for the future. And with this simple method and methods like it, farmers are empowered, communities are empowered, and they say, no, it's within my means to create the future that I want for myself and my children. And that's a very, very powerful motivation for adopting these types of practices. So Nagodi, to my Hausa brothers and sisters in the audience, it's been wonderful to share with you. And Samuel, I don't know if there's time for questions or not.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if any of us have any question. Please, you may just raise up your hand or identify, please. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Tony. That was a wonderful section there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello?
Mohammed, please, you may go on with your question.
You're on mute, Mohammed. You're on mute. Mohammed, you're on mute. I didn't hear what you said.
Yes. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sir, my name is, as you can see, I'm Muhammad from Katsina State. So my question is that how can we be able to take part in climate action, looking at we are living in a typical African society where majority of our people didn't even understand what we are heading to when we are advocating for climate action. Majority of the people, they don't even understand where we are heading to. And we are having problem with ministries of environment, especially at state level, because we don't have the Department of Environment at local government level. It's not as effective as we expect.
Thank
so
you.
That's my questions. How can we take part?
Thank you, Mohammed. I don't think there's any one single answer. And I can warn you that often it's a lonely walk that you will take because you see things that other people may not yet see. But I can only encourage you to be the change you want to see. Can you, instead of driving, can you walk or use a bicycle sometimes? Instead of leaving all the lights on in the house, only use the ones that you need, and so on. And then speak to a friend. Try to influence them. Start small and build up. Do you have a local environment or climate club? Join it. Participate. As you take those first steps, even though it seems insignificant, turning off a light switch, what difference will that make? As you take those first steps, the next steps will become clearer and clearer. Maybe you'll get an opportunity to write something in the local newspaper or to be interviewed on the radio. But take the first and the easy steps, and then the next steps will become apparent. I'm sure there are many more things I could say, but perhaps that's a good start.
Okay. And then we have the next person here, and then Suleiman or Ismail. Ismail, please, you may go on.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. It has been a very wonderful presentation by the person that talked about FMR. Sorry, I didn't join on time, so I did not get his name. My question is, from what you said, sir, I could remember when we allow some places to just be idle, for example, where people used to walk on, we used to trade on, and then after some time we leave it. We don't walk on it anymore. You will begin to see grasses growing up. So I think this is also in relation to what you are saying on that the farmer managed natural regeneration. So in this case, are you saying that farmers should abandon their farmlands to allow the trees and the grasses to regrow back? Or what are you exactly saying? Because I doubt as much if farmers will be convinced and agree to this idea, even though it is very effective and that it has been proven over and over again. So I don't know if there is any way we can convince farmers to do this thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suleiman. That's an excellent question. And fortunately, no, we can restore tree cover without abandoning the land. It simply requires some slight changes in behavior. And I think there would be no story to tell. If I said to the farmers in Niger, you must stop farming, nobody would have done this work. But the wonderful thing is they continued to farm even as the trees were growing. And as the trees grew, the crop yields increased, the different variety of things that they could harvest, fodder, fruits, different crops, and so on. The variety increased and incomes increased. And so it wasn't either or. And another point related to this is it's very, very important to start at the point that the farmer's at. So it could be, this is a very frightening thing. All their life, most farmers have been told that crops will not grow under trees. And so many people clear the trees and they think I've done a wonderful job. And so I encourage people, let's experiment together. I think this will work. What if you just tried in this corner of your land, allowing 4 or 5 trees to grow? And let's see what happens. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And if you find it destroys your farm, it's your farm, you do what you want, cut the trees out or whatever. The name farmer managed natural regeneration is very carefully chosen. It's not Tony managed or World Vision managed, it's farmer managed, so they make the decisions. But excellent question, and fortunately, no, you don't have to abandon that land.
Thank you so much for that response. And please, all other questions, I'll just take two more questions. All other questions, please just put it on the chat box. We'll respond to them as well. I'll take question from Yunusa. Sorry about that pronunciation. Yunusa, your Doma, please you may unmute yourself and ask a question.
No.
Yeah, please go on.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, please go on.
Hello, my name is Jamila Amisu.
Okay.
Hi, Jamila.
How are you, sir? Oh, you are welcome to this presentation. We're really very impressed on this presentation. We get a lot. My question is that, is there any way you can help our area to adopt this measure?
Is there any way I can help your area to adopt FMNI? Is that the question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so actually there are already farmers in northern Nigeria who are practicing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's already been practiced in parts of Nigeria, and there are groups who promote this practice. So maybe after the call I can send a link to Samuel and he can share that.
Okay, sir.
So this
much,
is the easiest. If you find an example in your own country, farmers will believe their peer farmers much more than they will an external person or even a government person. If a farmer is doing this, there must be a reason. And so by facilitating exchange visits and farmers learning from each other, this is how we helped to spread it in Niger. The farmers did most of the teaching.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jamilu.
Okay, I think we have a question on the chat box. Let me quickly read that out. Can growth grow a lot of trees? Okay, I don't really understand this question from Sekina Naziri. I don't know if you are here. If there's a question, you just unmute yourself to ask it. Please take notes per tray. You can repeat your question again, please. Okay, let's take one more hand. Okay, take notes per tray. Please go on. You know, unmute yourself. Take notes per tray.
So I'm not sure what Sakina means, but it's because COVID is a virus. I think we still have to take all the necessary measures of social distancing and the precautions, medical precautions. I'm not sure how the forest would prevent COVID, but if we have wide-scale forests, I think future pandemics are less likely if there's more balance in nature.
Okay. So, Victor, please, your question, and that is the last one.
Hi, Victor. You're on mute. Victor, you're on mute.
Okay. I want to commend Mr. Tony. I am using Madam Nora's platform because I had a network challenge with mine. Sorry about that. I want to commend Mr. Tony for such a wonderful presentation. I am really inspired by what he has said. He came to Niger Republic and met a barren land, and then he breathed life to it and inspired many to, to green it up, and for which he earned an award for himself. I want to say that, sir, you are an inspiration to many, including me. And honestly, I'm just feeling like going out there to start initiating what you have just taught us. So thank you very much. We look forward to working with you in Nigeria so that we help to recreate our community into, what we truly desire to be. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, my children went to school in Jos, Plateau State. And as we drove from Niger to Plateau State, I could see the opportunity for FMNR across Nigeria, on farmland, on grazing land, in forest. You have so much potential to rapidly, at low cost, and at scale, restore your vegetation. So thank you for your comment, and I hope you are inspired. I hope that in this audience, there's somebody or some bodies who will take this message and spread it across Nigeria.
Okay. And Mr. Tony, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you, sir. I so much celebrate you. And then I just want to talk on something. And could you highlight when you talk about regreening our mindscape? I got that word from you. I know how I met you was through Global Landscape Forum during the Global Landscape Forum annual conference and all that. And you spoke about regreening our mindscape. And I know in that forum I was a reporter for Global Landscape Forum. I was a journalist and a reporter for Global Landscape Forum and also for Climate Chapter. Could you just throw just a minute or so about the essence of regreening our mindscape?
Sure. So I think for many people, they think nature is hopeless and we have to do something. We have to spend money. We have to use chemicals and technology to restore nature. Actually, nature is very capable of restoring itself if we give it a chance. And much of the environmental degradation that's occurred through history, right back to the early ages, is because of decisions that people have made, trying to change nature and fight nature to maybe for agriculture, maybe for building whatever. And so we've destroyed the environment. If we can change this mindset, and instead of our first reaction to be, if it's, you know, there's an old saying in Australia, if it moves, shoot it. If it doesn't move, cut it down. So it's such an anti-nature sentiment. If we change this mentality, how can I work with nature to improve it so that it will make my life better? If you win that battle, then nature will heal itself and life on earth will be much, much better for everybody.
Thank you so much. And definitely, I'm going to share your materials with I don't know if this slide is part of the materials you sent to me.
I can send this presentation and anything else you like, and certainly maybe I type in here a website, the FMNR Hub. So people are free. There's a manual there they can download. There's lots of stories from different countries. So I'll just type that in.
Okay, thank you. Please, you may just leave your question on the chat box. We are coming almost to the end. Let's take our last speaker. Now, Nuruddin.
Please, just a quick question. Very simple and straightforward. Forgive me, please. Could FMNR be the universal adaptive measure for climate change? That is the question.
Oh, so again, a very good question. We cannot evade our responsibility to reduce emissions. I think FMNR and tree planting, land restoration are essential elements, and they can play a very, very big role. But, you know, there's the game of Monopoly. It's not a get out of jail free card. We still have a responsibility to stop the greenhouse gas emissions. However, what about the historical greenhouse gases already in the atmosphere? By all means, FMNR can play a very big role. It's estimated that there are about a billion hectares of degraded forest land and perhaps 2 billion hectares of degraded farmland and pastoral land. If we restored these landscapes, they could draw down at least 25% of existing carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Okay, thank you. So thank you so much, Mr. Tony. Thank you, sir. I so much appreciate your time, the energy, the resources, the ideas. Like, they're really awesome. It's more like I'm still meeting you again for the first time. Even though I had a one-on-one interview with you, like those processes, those ideas, they actually changed my mindset as well in terms of agro-tree plantation. So currently, ever since then till now, I have planted a whole lot of agro trees. And I also have desire to even have my own forest because of your presentation at first. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you and lovely to be with everybody. And I wish you all every success in whatever avenue your life takes you. Thank you.
Thank you. Nuruddin, please, would you introduce the last speaker?
All right. Yeah, thank you, Samuel, for giving me this opportunity. It's just a quick reminder before bringing the new speaker on board. The aim of this training is to strengthen the capacity the climate leadership. It's actually an effort to contribute in mitigating the climate crisis and its consequences. Our next speaker is Dr. Aminu Lawal. Dr. Aminu Lawal holds a PhD in geology with specialty in environmental geochemistry and mineralogy from the University of Bristol in the UK. He also holds an MSc in environmental science from the University of Wolverhampton in the UK as well, and a BSc from Osmanu Danfodio University, Sokoto. Dr. Lawal is now a senior lecturer in the Department of Chemistry, Federal University, Gusau. He is married with children. He is a member of various academic bodies such as the European Association of Geochemistry, Mineralogical Society of Britain and Ireland, as well as a fellow of the Geological Society of London. Dr. Alamin, the floor is yours now. Dr. Alamin. Dr. Alamin, can you please unmute yourself?
I think there's an issue with his microphone. He's not on mute, but we cannot hear him.
We can hear you, sir. Can you please continue? Can you go ahead, please?
Nuruddin, can you check on me?
Yeah, I can see his chat that can you all hear me? It seems like
No, we cannot hear him. I think,
all right, Dr. Alamin, we cannot hear you.
I don't know. I'm not hearing anything. Maybe we can.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Could it be
Yes.
network or
We can hear you now.
maybe a
Doctor.
problem, technical problem?
We can hear you now.
I'm not hearing a network problem or a technical problem from his side. Maybe you can get in touch with him privately so that we'll know what's going on. Thank you.
Who just finished speaking? Is it Dr. Alamin?
Yeah, no, it's not Dr. Alamin. Let me get in touch with him quickly.
It seems to be like it's not around.
Nuruddin, could you place a call across to me? That was there.
Yeah, I just called him now. He's using another option to join.
Okay. And please, you are free to keep your feedback coming and your questions.
Okay, I think Dr. Alan is on board now.
Okay. Did he join with his name?
Yes, Aminu Lawal.
Okay. Good day, sir. Nice
Can you
to
hear
have you
me?
here. Yes, we can hear you. Nice to have you.
Okay, so I am joining with my phone, so I'll not be able to share my screen, but I'll be able to explain what I have for you today. First of all, I will commend the former speaker for a wonderful presentation. I feel there are so many things that we need to learn from him and we domesticate here in our own part of Nigeria, which is bordering the Niger Republic anyway. So my presentation is centered on around the topic, youth involvement in climate advocacy. And okay, let me mute myself on my computer now. Because good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, very well.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay, so my topic is centered around youth involvement in climate advocacy, and I designed my presentation.
Excuse me, Doctor. Can you send your presentation to Narudin? Let us forward it. Can you send your presentation to Narudin on WhatsApp? Yes, let's see if we can share the screen right now for you. Or Narudin, can you share the screen from your own end, or you can send it to me directly. You can send it to Narudin. Why Narudin send it to me? Why we see if we can share it from our own end.
Okay, let me see if that is possible.
Okay. Please, thank you.
I think while share.
Nuruddin, can you send me your email, please? So I can forward it to you if it is possible.
I was saying, instead of being silent, since we can hear him now, and while he's trying to share the presentation, maybe he can go on if that's possible.
Okay. Should I continue while trying to send the presentation?
Okay, good. It's fine. It's okay.
Okay, anyways, like I said, my presentation will be centered around, the outline will cover climate change in brief, especially in the northern Nigeria, where I come from, and the youth and the future of climate change, the youth involvement in advocacy of climate change, and then I'll give out brief outlooks on my own perspectives on what I believe the future holds for the youth who are involved in climate change advocacy. Okay, I have seen the email now. I'll try and send it. So in northern Nigeria, basically, there is this prevalence of increasing population, both human and livestock, and we believe that increasing population increases the utilization of resources, both industrial and natural. It increases demand for food, it increases demand for shelter, it increases so many things. And it encourages competition for these resources. So as population increases, the resources decrease. So competition is becoming more fierce, and at the end of the day, environment is being affected. Not to talk about the prevailing insecurity that is bedeviling the region. So some of these natural resources that are being competed for include soils basically, and so far globally, due to, as I've said, increasing population, soil resources have been on the decrease, and the degradation has been increasing. The scientific data puts it that about 0.5% of global arable lands are being degraded every year. And that between 2000 and 2015, close to 50% of global arable lands have been degraded. And that tells you the challenge we have on our hands. And why is soil important in climate change science or in climate change discussion? Soils, apart from fossil records, naturally fossils, soils are the largest reservoirs of greenhouse gases, most notably the carbon dioxide. Trees are also excellent reservoirs of greenhouse gases, most notably, as I have said, carbon dioxide. but they are not nearly as close to how important soils are in preserving carbon dioxide. But however, demands, degradation, intensive agriculture, changing climate is affecting soil, and it is releasing this carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere, thereby increasing global warming. So how are these things affecting climate change, especially in northern Nigeria? We believe degradation, according to Nigerian document on National Adaptation Strategy and Plan of Action, about 6 kilometers per year of soil is being degraded in what they call the frontline states, the states that are bordering the Niger Republic, bordering the Sahara Desert. So this desert encroachment is actually causing food shortage, it's actually causing reduction in rainfall and increasing in demand for food resources. And therefore it increases conflict, and it facilitates increase in the intensity of agricultural practices, and also intensity in which soils are being degraded. And that is bad for climate change. And also Nigeria is one of the largest countries in the world that are still involved in gas flaring, from the Niger Delta region where petroleum products are being produced. Mostly from the wells, the production involves flaring of natural gas. Now, what is interesting is that Nigeria is regarded as a gas economy. It means that the natural gas reserves in Nigeria are much, much larger than the oil reserves. But then Nigerian government has no infrastructure in which it can convert its vast natural gas reserves, which are pegged at about 180 trillion cubic feet. They don't have the infrastructure to utilize those resources and convert them into more usable products. So what they do is naturally flaring them, and that increases carbon dioxide. And because natural gas contain a lot of other chemicals, it also increases other greenhouse gases, most notably the chlorofluorocarbons in the atmosphere. So this is also not good for climate change. But as I have said, youth are the future, because my topic is centered around involvement of youth in this climate change advocacy. So I believe youth are the future in the struggle against climate change, especially in Nigeria. The reason why I believe this is that they hold the key in combating climate change. One of the reasons why I say so is because the youth are rising up to their responsibility. They have been taking charge of climate change advocacy and campaign. Some of them are volunteering to be planting trees, hundreds and hundreds of trees in different local governments around the northern part of Nigeria. Some of them are actually taking charge in creating awareness of the dangers of climate change and what it portends on our healthcare system, what it portends on our education system, and various other engagements in northern Nigeria. So I believe the youth are already taking charge, and I believe they hold the power to transform communities and to transform societies and increase their own awareness toward the looming problem we are faced with. And this is important because largely the youth are about 2/3 of the population of Nigeria, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. About 2/3 of Nigerian population are 40 years and less. I don't know whether I can categorize myself as a youth yet, but even if I am a youth, I will be exiting that bracket very soon. So I believe this power to transform societies, because of their vast number, because of their engagement, commitments, is key in climate advocacy. The United Nations itself has recognized the roles youth could play in climate advocacy through youth-led organizations. For example, I am a chairman of one organization that is aimed at 3 different thematic areas. We look at climate change itself or environmental issues generally. We look at good governance, and we look at human capital development. So in our own small efforts, I would say minor efforts in terms of combating climate change, we have done several programs in which we planted over 400 trees in one of the local governments in my state, the state in the northern part of Nigeria. And we have, myself and my colleague have undertaken a self-funded research, trying to know what our communities know about climate change and how they are preparing for it. What are their mitigation strategies and what are their adaptation strategies with respect to reduced rainfall and increased dry season and shortage of food resources. So what we found out is that largely our communities in both Sokoto and Zamfara State in the extreme northwestern part of Nigeria are not really aware of what climate change is, and they are not aware of the dangers it portends. So there are no comprehensive strategies, in terms of mitigation and in terms of adaptation from these communities. So I believe now this is bringing me to my next point in how youth can be involved in climate advocacy. The youth have the energy to travel, to transform barriers and communities. They have ability to attract, people, to inform them of the dangers of climate change, to show them how to mitigate climate change, for example, because as most of the communities in my own part of Nigeria, in the northwestern part, are actually grappling with climate change. So what they need now is to know the strategies they could employ in terms of for mitigation and adaptation to these effects. In some of the communities, we have reduced rainfall, we have shortage of even drinking water, especially in the dry seasons. We have shortage of competition for resources, especially for their livestock. And this thing has escalated a lot of violence and a lot of insecurity within the region. So we feel the youth will take charge to first of all, advocate through media, social media especially, which is a very powerful tool, and conventional media as well. TV programs, radio programs, these are programs that can reach to the inner recesses of all our societies, and people will listen to youth, will listen to their ideas, and will definitely take steps in implementing the recommendations of these youth. I have seen that because I have been involved in some form of advocacy. I have been to several villages that are now are not accessible nowadays due to growing insecurity. But we have been there. We have trained several farmers and several herders. We showed them that the shortage of these resources is not about it is not the fault of the farmers themselves. It is actually natural process, and therefore there is need for them to cohabit and utilize the resources they have at their disposal. And it has yielded some positive results. And so I believe if youth are involved, they should take charge through all these media and advocate for climate change. Also, because youth, as we say, are the futures of tomorrow, I believe they can be engaged in, demanding for good governance. What I mean here is that somebody earlier on made a remark about, environment departments in our local governments not being fully functional. And I feel our youth can demand for that. They can take charge. They have been, but they can continue volunteering and then challenging the existing establishment to come and do what their work what their work demands of them. We have done that in my local government where I come from. We have, like I said, we've planted over hundreds of trees, and then we demanded action from our local government, especially the environment department, and they are now living up to their expectations. They are taking charge of these issues. They have been traveling far and near within the local government, raising awareness, providing relief materials, providing solutions to mitigation and adaptation strategies. And I also think it is important youth advocate for establishment of environmental clubs in our secondary schools and in our universities and colleges. These will go a long way in promoting environmental knowledge for the upcoming, our younger ones, because they will grow up with the knowledge of what is actually happening and how they are likely to handle that. And at the same time, when kids go home, they will be telling their parents what they have learned from school or the kind of activities they are engaged in. So, and in doing so, they will be increasing more awareness about what climate change is and how it can be handled or mitigated or even adapt to it. And I feel these strategies will help youth in taking charge of climate change advocacy in Nigeria. Also, I think because, like I said, United Nations has recognized the contribution of youth in terms of and how they can contribute to climate change. There is also I'm sorry, I'm receiving calls. I'm being interrupted by calls. So there is this joint framework from the United Nations in which they recognize youth-led organizations and their efforts in combating climate change, and providing them with training, providing them with equipment, providing them with various, incentives on how and that could encourage them in carrying out their activities of advocacy and there is also the need for youth to advocate to be included basically in climate change decision processes. For example, we have a ministry in my state. We have a Ministry of Environment, but it is largely looking at not concerned about climate change, but largely looking at sanitation. You employ people to sweep streets, and that is all. So I think the youth can take charge of that. They can demand for, programs that are aimed at, combating climate change from our own ministries of environment. So, and they can demand a seat at the table where they will be involved in major decision processes as they involve climate change. And lastly, I would say in the Nigerian context, the outlook for youth involvement in climate change advocacy is actually very good. We have seen instances where the youth are taking charge. They've been traveling to the villages. They've been carrying out programs, although I think they can do more. For starters, I think that outlook is good. And I believe there is need to create much more awareness in terms of both mitigation and adaptation strategies. As our research has shown, of course, it has not been published yet, but the data has shown that a lot of people do not even know what climate change is, and they don't know how to respond to it. So I think it is the responsibility of youth to take charge and take lead in this. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. You actually made good points, and also your time was actually really timely. Thank you for that wonderful section, and thank you for being patient with us till now. I know you have come on board before now. Thank you for being so patient with us. And then I know we have hands that are up for questions, and please, you want to ask a question, and then you need to be very, very brief. You need to be very, very brief so that we can have other people come on board, and then we can end this section because it's already 12. We don't want to keep people beyond this time. So we have just two hands up. We have Geoffrey and we have Victor. So Geoffrey, please, just 1 minute, just few seconds, please.
Okay, thank you for this wonderful opportunity, and thank you for, thank all the speakers, and especially the last speaker. My interest here is that each time he mentions future of the tomorrow, which are the youth, I'm so impressed, but I want maybe from experience, if you can share a little, because I believe our government today in Nigeria are supposed to aid the youth, but as it is now, all these organizations that are supposed to help climate change and other environmental things are being headed by older or elderly people politically because they are their friends. And so the youth find it very hard to penetrate. The youth do this much advocacy, much more on a private level, that is the CSO. But aside that, I don't see how youth are really penetrating the government because they don't give them appointment. They don't even work with them. He did mention things about working in his village with some people. I believe he had this experience. He knows those people who can move these things forward, and that is why he was working with them and achieve. So how can we really achieve this through the government? Thank you.
Okay, sir, please, you may just give a few points to that. Okay, please, let's take the next question as well, so that I can just answer the both of them as well.
Thank you very much, Sam. Mine is not really a question, but first of appreciation to the eminent scholar. The presentation has been a clear presentation, and the policymakers not insist as you practice the energy that God has given to us and trade them so that we will see on something. So thank you so much for that insight presentation. And I will hope that thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. And then we're also looking forward to having everyone here back tomorrow by same time. And then we are not taking you for granted for your time. So sorry that we have to overstretch this particular time. The questions were really much, and we really going to be carried along and the questions being answered. For those people that couldn't answer their questions today, please we'll treat your questions tomorrow. Okay. So Dr. Lawa, I don't know if you're here to respond to the last question that was asked. Is Dr. Lawa here?
I think Dr. Lawal is offline.
Okay, he's off. Okay, so Nuruddin, please we'll give the closing remark for today while we wait for tomorrow, same time, and then the link attached to your calendar will be shared today so that we all have the program for tomorrow. And then let me just give a fast update. Tomorrow, the person that will be joining us tomorrow is the DVC admin of Federal University of Guswa. So he'll be joining us tomorrow. And then we also have Mr. Victor. We also have Lamar K. Benson. Lamar K. Benson is a forester from Kenya. He's one of the well-known foresters in Kenya. He will also be joining us tomorrow. And these are three major facilitators we have tomorrow. So it's not something that you want to miss. And I know that everybody as well has been anticipating. And today has really been awesome. So Dr. Lawa is here. I don't know if you'd like to respond to that question, or if he heard the question before you went off. Is he here?
Yes, I just admitted.
Okay.
I'm back.
All right. Okay, Dr. Alamin.
Okay. Doc, did you hear the question asked by? Did you hear the question
Geoffrey
asked by Geoffrey, one of the participants?
Yes.
Okay. Please, could you just with very few minutes, just treat on that.
Strategy is that because we were involved in this and we have recorded some successes actually. But what we did as a strategy is that we started our programs voluntarily as youth, and we continued, without the involvement of any government official. But when it gets to the level of commissioning, we invite government officials whose responsibility it is to do what we are doing, and we invite them for commissioning, and we make sure that to come to commission it, we make them understand that this is what they should have done, and it is us doing it now. And we hope going forward they should be the one who will take charge and do it. Well, this strategy may not work everywhere, but it worked for us, and I feel you can give it a try and see if it works. And secondly, we are lucky to have in Zamfara, for example, where our governor has given a lot of appointments to the youth. Personally, I don't consider those appointments as anything serious, but some of them that he has given, offices where they can make difference, we liaise with them. We demand for them to take up our own grievances to the appropriate courts, and we demand for action from them. Because they are representing the youth, we decided to give them a mandate. We come together, we said, okay, as the youth who was with us before you are appointed in this position, what can you do for your constituency, the youth? Then they will ask for an input from us on what they should do. They should do as when they are trying to deliver their own mandate. So we feel in doing so, we give them our own inputs, and we give them basically a template through which they operate. And some of these templates include climate action and climate advocacy. And thankfully, it has been useful for us. I don't know if this would be work in other places, but this is what we do. And it has been giving us the results we need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And please, to all participants, I'm really sorry for the time. Okay, that I have to stretch this time beyond now. As you can see, too, we had seasonal speakers on board. We had a lot of seasonal speakers on board from global platforms, and these are knowledge that we can get, and these are knowledge, if put into action, we can get much more than the results they have gotten in time past. So I say thank you to all participants all over the world, to participants, especially from the northern and northwestern region of Nigeria, and then thank you to our collaborating organizers for this awesome event. So I will bring it to close right now with a closing remark from Naruddin, a brief closing remark from Naruddin, and see you all tomorrow. Time is 10 a.m. WAT/CET. And all presentations, let me add, all presentations will be sent to our emails tomorrow after the last section. All presentations will be sent, including the slide. This section is being recorded on YouTube, so I will also be sharing the YouTube link so that you can also watch it in your spare time on YouTube. If there are any information you miss out, you watch it there and get those informations at your own disposal. Please, Naruddin. Thank you. Naruddin, can you?
All right, thank you, Sam. I want to use this opportunity to thank the participants and also the speakers for today. As mentioned by Samuel, we will be having a new set of presenters, which includes the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Federal University, Gusau, Professor Galadima Ahmad, Mr. Victor from Federal University, Gusau also, and we will be having also a presenter from Kenya in person of Lamera Benson, who is a forester. So we will try as much as possible to look into the observations being raised by the participants, as well as the questions that our speakers were unable to answer. We will try to email presentations as requested by our participants. We hope to see you tomorrow, same time, same platform. Thank you very much. We are indeed grateful.
Okay, please can we all open our camera? Let's just take a picture. Can we all do that? Let's open our camera. Let's take a good photograph. Okay. And I'm taking the first one. Okay, the first one is taken. So let me take the second one. There we go.